Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me. Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah, yeah.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson says he was attacked in his sleep, not by an intruder, but by something far more sinister. Picture this, lying peacefully in bed, then suddenly clawed by an invisible force, leaving scars that linger to this day. Let us step into his world, a world where demons might lurk, and the truth is more terrifying than we could ever imagine. Tucker Carlson claims spiritual attack left scars. Tucker Carlson's latest bedtime story comes in the form of, well, let's call it a spiritual mauling. Imagine this, you're lying in bed, minding your own business, probably snoring up a storm with your 4 dogs and your wife beside you, and suddenly, wham, you're under attack by a demon. He says he was physically mauled by an unseen evil while asleep, leaving him with some supposedly still visible claw marks a whole year and a half later. Sounds like someone's taken the term nightmare way too literally. But here's the twist. What did this demon really want? The answer might just leave you sleepless. He claims these marks couldn't possibly have been self-inflicted. He says, I sleep on my side. Well, the case closed then, I guess. Forget rational explanations. Scratching yourself in your sleep is out of the question. Nails too short. Marks don't fit his hands. No way that could have been him. If you dare suggest something as mundane as, oh, I don't know, sleepwalking or an allergic reaction, you're just being a skeptic. The truth is out there, and he's living it. He and John Heers take a casual stroll around the beautiful surroundings, followed by some light gun shooting off the balcony. A man's gotta relax somehow, right? Between demons in the bedroom and political conspiracies, blasting a few rounds into the wilderness just feels like the natural thing to do. Carlson clearly has a type too. Every one of these homes has that traditional look, like they came straight out of a Better Homes and Gardens magazine. Classic red doors, manicured lawns, perfect places for a high-profile TV personality to retreat from the prying eyes of the masses while still living large. And let's not ignore the coincidence. Every time he buys a house, it just has to look like the previous one. Maybe he's got a thing for replicating what he's already had. Kind of like how his opinions keep coming from the same old playbook, just in a different wrapper. Then we have his former life in Washington, D.C. Back in 2011, he snagged a colonial-style mansion for $2 million. The place was practically dripping with old-world charm, featuring 7 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms. The main floor housed a sprawling living room, dining room, sunroom, and all the space needed for the likes of him to entertain or just sit back and enjoy some alone time. But of course, when you're him, enough is never really enough. Just 6 years later, he upgraded. And by upgraded, I mean he bought a nearly $4 million mansion a mile away, almost identical to the first. The newer property, built in 1998, had a bit more breathing room, over 7,400 square feet. It came with an eat-in gourmet kitchen, an attached family room, and let's not forget the massive primary suite, with not 1 but 2 walk-in closets. Because what's success if you can't walk into a closet that's big enough to host a small dinner party? The suite also came with its own ensuite bathroom, and there were 4 more en-suite bedrooms throughout the house. Downstairs, there was a lower level complete with a gym, storage room, and an extra bedroom, because even your guests need their privacy. The landscaped backyard featured a pool, sauna, and an outdoor shower. Nothing says stress relief quite like hopping out of the pool and straight into a private sauna, right? He decided to part ways with this home, but he barely made a profit, selling it for just under $4 million. You have to wonder if the next buyer appreciated the almost eerie resemblance this mansion bore to his previous one. Both houses had the same traditional boxy shape with a bright red door, a signature. The familiarity of these purchases is almost poetic, don't you think? It's like he's on a quest to replicate his past successes, whether it's in real estate or rhetoric. The cabin itself has that lived-in luxury look, rustic charm, mixed with enough modern comforts to make sure he's never roughing it too much. Inside, there's likely a mix of cozy wooden furniture, family mementos, and a heavy dose of Americana. Outside, the cabin is surrounded by dense forest, with the occasional opening that gives way to breathtaking views of the main landscape. This isn't just a cabin, it's a statement, A declaration that, while he may be opting for a life away from the cities, he's doing it on his terms, and with every comfort imaginable. It leaves us all wondering, though, is he truly a warrior against the dark forces that threaten his peace? Or is he just a guy with a very active imagination and too much time alone in his oversized cabin? Perhaps it's a little bit of both. After all, when you build your identity around being constantly under siege, whether by the mainstream media, political foes, or now, literal demons, it's almost inevitable that the shadows you see in the dark start to feel a little too real. Behind Tucker's luxury is more than comfort. Fear seems to follow him. Fear behind the opulent facade. His life of luxury under the constant shadow of existential dread. From the multi-million-dollar properties to the remote cabin in Maine, complete with ghost stories, there's an undeniable pattern here. The more he isolates himself, the more the dangers seem to multiply, at least in his mind. It's a classic case of the self-fulfilling prophecy. Declare yourself to be under attack, and suddenly you are. Declare that you need to retreat from society, and soon enough, you're all alone, battling phantoms in the night. Whether these threats are real or not hardly seems to matter. What matters is that he believes them, and for better or worse, wants us to believe them too. Is he a brave hero standing up to supernatural forces? Or just a very wealthy man in a very big house who's really scared of the dark? It's hard to say for sure, but if nothing else, it makes for a good story. And if there's one thing he knows how to do, it's tell a story. Even if that story involves 4 claw marks, a bloody shoulder, and the very real fear that no matter how many homes you buy or how far into the woods you go, you can never truly escape what scares you the most. Carlson, love him or hate him, has been on quite the journey lately, veering away from his usual political ranting and diving headfirst into supernatural waters. And let's be honest, it's been interesting. It seems like he's trying to transform from just your average divisive TV personality into some kind of mystical guru/truth seeker. Whether it's all genuine or just a clever rebranding tactic, well, that's up for debate. He recently shared a story that's basically prime material for a late-night ghost show. Back in late 2024, he decided to give everyone a good scare by recounting his so-called demonic attack. Picture this. He's chilling at his cabin in Maine, far from the madding crowds and network cameras, when suddenly, bam, evil forces supposedly come knocking. According to him, he woke up in the dead of night gasping for air, in excruciating pain, with literal claw marks etched across his body. Claw marks, folks. Not exactly the kind of thing you expect on your vacation to the countryside. His sleeping posture and his very trimmed nails make self-inflicted scratches impossible. At least that's his story. He says it wasn't his dog's, wasn't his wife, and it wasn't his own doing. And if you're starting to think that he had one too many horror movies before bed, well, you wouldn't be alone in that assessment. He, of course, spun it into something bigger, an encounter with forces of evil, a conveniently terrifying prelude to his upcoming documentary, Christianities. It's not just a spooky tale, it's a strategic expansion of his platform. His audience, already pretty comfortable with conspiracy theories and world on the brink of collapse type rhetoric, was more than willing to jump on this bandwagon. They see him not only as a talking head with a bone to pick with politicians, but now as some kind of mystical warrior battling unseen dark forces. Why is he doing this, you ask? Because it's a fantastic way to widen his net, to drag in people who aren't just interested in politics, but care about spirituality too. Suddenly, he's speaking for those who feel like the world's lost its moral compass, who've given up on organized religion, but still want to believe in something. He's positioning himself as someone who gets it, the real struggle, the disillusionment. It's a clever move. Politicians come and go, but existential angst? That's forever. And he's here to fan those flames. In a media landscape where everyone seems scared to touch topics like religion with a 10-foot pole, he's decided to go all in. No hesitation, no awkward sidestepping. This lets him carve out his own little niche. The guy who doesn't just rant about taxes, but also stands for good old moral values. To his audience, this feels authentic and, frankly, brave. In a world where everyone's pandering, he's out here raw and righteous. His followers eat it up because, for them, it's about more than entertainment. It's about validation. They see the world as a battleground, a place where forces beyond our control are at work, a narrative that makes sense of the mess. His story to them isn't just a campfire horror tale. It's proof that even someone like him, a famous, successful guy, isn't immune to the darker forces of the universe. It's weirdly comforting for those who believe they're part of a bigger spiritual fight. By making faith and morality central to his content, he offers something most other mainstream media figures don't: a spiritual lifeline. He's out there talking about purpose, evil, and the eternal struggle, while everyone else sticks to their safe talking points. His followers, who feel their worldview is usually ignored or outright mocked, find in him someone who finally gets it. He's giving them the kind of media representation that's sorely lacking, one that takes faith and spirituality seriously. For every person who sees him as a warrior for truth, there's someone else who sees all this supernatural talk as just a marketing gimmick. The skeptics aren't shy about pointing out the convenient timing, the dramatic, demonic episode that just happens to precede a new documentary. Coincidence? Probably not. For the critics, this is all just a well-crafted spectacle, designed to captivate a niche audience while boosting his brand into something bigger than just political hot takes. They see the claw marks, the ghost stories, and the criticism of religious leaders as pieces in a puzzle that ultimately spells out, "Watch my next big project." But whether you think he's a genius or a grifter, you've got to admit he struck a nerve. His talk of supernatural encounters and moral decay has added an extra layer to his public persona that a lot of people find irresistible. He's stepped away from the realm of mere political commentary and instead is playing with something more elemental, more human. He's diving into the stories that resonate with people on a gut level, stories about good and evil, about battling dark forces that'll make you sit up in bed and think, maybe there's something to all this. His transition from purely political to spiritual isn't just a phase. It's a calculated rebrand that's drawing in an audience hungry for answers that go beyond politics. By blending in stories of supernatural encounters and critiques of the religious establishment, he's created a weird but compelling new kind of show, one that talks about claw marks in the middle of the night and then jumps right into the moral failings of society by breakfast. And as much as it might seem ridiculous to some, it's a narrative that's working. Each encounter pushes Tucker away from politics and into a new kind of struggle. Tucker's new spiritual crusade. He's tapping into something primal, people's desire to see the world as more than just chaos and politics. They want to see purpose, morality, and yes, even demons. And he's there to give them that, whether he believes it all himself or just knows it's the perfect hook to keep them tuning in. Either way, he's making his mark, claw marks and all. A lot of people out there are sick of the sanitized scientific explanations for everything. They don't want their lives boiled down to chemicals and synapses. They want meaning, purpose, and frankly, they want the idea that some things are beyond the realm of science. He knows that, and he's giving it to them. He's putting supernatural belief, spiritual warfare, and all that juicy good versus evil stuff right back on the table. He's bringing back the idea that the world is full of mysteries, some beautiful, some terrifying, and not everything can be explained by a lab report. This is where the supernatural elements work brilliantly. When he talks about demonic attacks or spiritual warfare, it's not just sensationalism, it's a metaphor for the kind of battle he believes is happening in society. It's about fighting against forces, both seen and unseen, that are dragging the world into moral decay. This gives him an edge that other media figures lack. He's not just talking about policy or culture, he's talking about the soul of the nation, and that's a powerful place to be. His critiques of religious institutions also feed into this. By calling out church leaders for being out of touch, he positions himself as someone who's not only aware of the problem, but is actively seeking solutions. He's aligning himself with those who feel that institutional religion has failed them, but who still yearn for spiritual fulfillment. He's saying, in effect, that the institutions may have failed, but the fight isn't over. There's still hope, there's still something worth believing in, and he's there to help point the way. Another key part of this transformation is his appeal as an anti-establishment figure. He's long been critical of political elites, but now he's extending that criticism to religious elites as well. This taps into a sentiment that's been growing for years, that the people at the top, whether they're in government, business, or even the church don't understand or care about the struggles of ordinary people. By positioning himself against these elites, he becomes a voice for those who feel left behind. But unlike many anti-establishment figures who just want to tear things down, he's adding a spiritual dimension. He's not just talking about corruption or incompetence. He's talking about moral failure. He's pointing to a deeper rot that needs to be addressed. This gives his message a resonance that goes beyond simple populism. It's not just about being angry at the elites. It's about reclaiming something that's been lost. It's about the idea that there's a right and a wrong, and that the people in power have abandoned their duty to uphold what's right. This is why his supernatural stories work so well. They're a dramatic way of illustrating the kind of battle he believes is happening. It's not just a fight against bad policies or corrupt leaders. It's a fight against evil itself. And in a world that often seems chaotic and senseless, that kind of narrative can be incredibly comforting. It makes the chaos make sense. It turns the mess of modern life into a story where there are clear villains and heroes, where there's a battle worth fighting, and where there's hope for victory. But what sets him apart is how he's blending this with contemporary political commentary. He's not just some preacher talking about the end times. He's a media personality who's weaving these themes into discussions about current events. It's a potent combination. He's taking people's fears and anxieties about the state of the world and giving them a narrative that ties it all together. He's saying that the political, the cultural, and the spiritual are all connected, that the battles we see on the news are just the surface of a deeper struggle. That's a compelling story. It's much more interesting than just talking about policy details or the latest scandal. It gives everything a sense of weight and importance. It makes people feel like they're part of something bigger, that their struggles and fears are part of a larger battle between good and evil. It's the kind of story that sticks with people, that makes them keep coming back for more. But even if it is a marketing gimmick, it's a pretty effective one. People are paying attention. They're talking about it. And in the world of media, that's half the battle. He's always been a polarizing figure, and this new direction is no different. For every person who sees him as a truth teller, there's someone else who sees him as a charlatan. But that's part of what makes him so effective. He's not trying to appeal to everyone. He's speaking directly to a specific audience, and he's doing it in a way that resonates deeply with them. His critics can scoff all they want, but there's no denying that he's tapped into something real. People are hungry for meaning, for a sense of purpose, for a story that makes sense of the chaos around them. And he's giving them that. Whether he believes it all himself or is just playing a role, he's found a way to connect with people on a level that goes beyond politics, beyond culture, and into something much deeper. Is Tucker really facing the supernatural, or is it all just a well-crafted illusion? Let us know what you think below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.